The school board meeting will begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Again, the school board meeting will begin in 1 minute.
Good evening. The September 24th, 2024 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Mirroring and modeling the way our students begin each day, I ask that we observe a moment of silence at this time. Please join me. Thank you. Board Member Campbell, would you read our commitment statement, please?
Gladly, Vice Chair. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first. We will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I am requesting everyone in the audience to please turn off their electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located in the lobby. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received to the board clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. Good evening, Ms. Martinez. Would you please call the roll?
Dr. Allison Campbell, District 1.
Here.
Mrs. Lori Conrad, District 2.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thrower, District 4. Dr. Sarah James, District 5.
Here.
Arisha Bawani, Bellevue High School.
Here.
Adriales Diaz, Westport High School.
Here.
Dr. Diane Gullett, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Powers, School Board Attorney.
Here.
Good evening, Dr. Gullett. Would you introduce to us those providing the inspiration and pledge of allegiance for this evening's meeting?
Good evening, Madam Vice Chair. It'd be my pleasure to introduce Lindsay Barber, who's going to come forward with some very special guests to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Thank you, Ms. Barber.
Mike is on.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair, board members, Superintendent. Welcome to Celebrate Freedom Week. Florida's statute designates the month of September annually as American Founders Month and the last week in September as Celebrate Freedom Week. So it's a time to reassert the importance of celebrating our nation's dedication to promoting the ideals of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Throughout this month, our campuses and classrooms have geared special instruction toward recognizing our founding fathers and mothers. Heroes Day, which is our commemoration of September 11th. Constitution Day or Constitution Week, and freedom and patriotism that goes along with celebrating freedom. So for tonight's Inspiration and Pledge, I'm proud to introduce retired Marion County Public School educator and representative of the Ocala Chapter National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, Beth Coleman, who will provide some inspirational words and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Communities throughout the nation celebrate the spirit and the meaning of the United States Constitution during the month of September. On September 17th, 1787, 39 of the 42 delegates at the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia signed the final draft of the Constitution of the United States of America. In 1955, my service organization, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, spearheaded an effort to set aside 1 week annually when Americans would remember, teach, and celebrate the signing of that magnificent document. After petitioning Congress to set aside the week of September 17th through 23rd, then President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed Constitution Week into law on August the 2nd, 1956. In celebration of this magnificent document, the Ocala Chapter, National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, secured just under 2,000 Constitution booklets for 5th grade students in 20 Marion County public schools where we serve. The booklets were sent out and given to students during Constitution Week, which was last week. We hope this educational tool will support the amazing instruction of American history already happening in 5th grade classrooms. The Ocala chapter was able to provide these booklets due to generous monetary gifts of our business partners, Trademark Metals, right here in Ocala, the Kiwanis Clubs of South Florida, who gave us $1,000, and Constitution for the People, a 501c3 dedicated to providing Florida's 5th graders with their very own personal copies of the United States Constitution. And we would also like to recognize and thank the Osceola County Public Schools for helping with the delivery of these booklets to Ocala. Our sincere thanks to Marion County Public School teachers and staff, including all support staff and personnel. We applaud your dedication to students and student success, and we salute you for your commitment, passion, and expertise. And may the 2024-2025 school year be pleasant and prosperous for you and your students. And now, please stand as you're able and join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and be seated.
Thank you. Dr. Gullett, I understand we have 2 rounds of recognitions this evening. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you. And I would like to bring Ms. Barber back up to the podium, who is going to kick this off in a recognition section with recognizing some very special teachers. So thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce the 24-25 Social Studies Teachers of the Year. The Social Studies Teachers of the Year program is organized by the Florida Council for Social Studies to bring attention and recognition to the dedicated social studies teachers across the state of Florida. The nomination process always begins in May, and administrators, colleagues, anyone in the community, including parents, students, families, we're all encouraged to nominate teachers. And we would like to thank our community members who selected this year's recipients. So our first recipient is Mrs. Brittany Corkery of Anthony Elementary School. She will represent our elementary schools. Ms. Corkery was nominated by her colleague, Rachel Keene. According to fellow teachers, she believes in promoting the whole child and ensures social studies curriculum is taught in her classroom. She's always concerned about incorporating social studies into her English language arts block to allow more time with informational text. Ms. Corkery helps plan the St. Augustine History Field Trip and is truly part of the entire Anthony community. Thank you. Yep, face this way. We're going to get a nice photo. Mr. William Talbert of Howard Middle School represents our middle school teachers. Mr. Talbert teaches civics and was nominated by his instructional coach, Mrs. Macias. She described him as going above and beyond to mentor new teachers, participated in the We the People program, assisting with all extracurricular activities on campus. I hear that he plays pickleball and loves horses, engaging his students in those activities. And not only does he have stellar assessment scores, he is, and I quote, steadfast and reliable, setting an example of model citizenship for his students and colleagues. You're welcome. Miss Jamie Grace of Bellevue High School is representing our high school teachers. Miss Grace was nominated by her students, Amelia Jimenez, Jocelyn Darga, and by magnet coordinator, Mr. Lazito. The students, though, praised her teaching methods, knowledge of multiple social studies subjects, and the leadership role she takes by helping organize their annual civil rights field trip across the states of Alabama and Georgia. As written by one student, she prioritizes her students' education and health in a way that I've seen few teachers do. She's truly outstanding as both a teacher and a human being. And that was a direct quote from them. These three teachers will be further recognized at the Florida Council for the Social Studies State Conference on October 10th in Orlando, where they will also get to go up on stage and represent Marion County Public Schools. So let's give them a round of applause.
Just real quick, I just want to say congratulations and thank you for the work that you do each and every day with our students. I tend to agree social studies is a fantastic subject to teach, so you're the lucky ones. Would you mind holding on for just a second so we can come down and take a picture with you? Dr. Gullett, do you want to ask our second presentation to come forward, please?
I would be happy to. It's always such a great pleasure to recognize the amazing work of our employees. And so this next recognition is no different under the umbrella, however, of National Attendance Awareness Month. I am pleased to have Ms. Del Nodal come forward and again recognize some other special guests that are with us tonight. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Vice Chair Conrad, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Gullett. Chronic absenteeism is not just a local or state issue. It has been a topic of conversation nationally, most recently following the significant increase since the COVID pandemic. Chronic absenteeism is typically defined as missing 10% of the school year, or approximately just 2 days each month, for any reason. This is not solely a matter of truancy or skipping school. In fact, many times these absences, especially regarding our younger students, are excused. Absences can be attributed to health problems, appointments scheduled during school days, and other barriers that make it difficult to go to school every day. While tracking the percentage of overall daily attendance is important, it is also key to make sure we're monitoring absenteeism trends to ensure absences do not start to add up and result in students missing crucial instructional time. To meet this challenge, we need everyone involved. This includes teachers, students, families, and our community. This evening, we're excited to recognize several schools for their efforts. Last year, we kicked off the Showing Up Together campaign, and these schools put in the effort to show up and improve their chronic absenteeism rate. This year's campaign is Be Present, Be Powerful. It's designed to remind students of the connection between school attendance and realizing their hopes and dreams. We look forward to their continued efforts and hope their success encourages all Marion County Public Schools to show that they too can be present every day, even when it's difficult. Ms. Sherry Loria, our school attendance advocate and court liaison, was very excited to be here this evening to provide you with information on what was accomplished and introduce the schools who are recognizing. Unfortunately, she was unable to make it and sends her most sincere regrets. I'd like to start the recognitions with a special thank you to BJ Trophies for their generous donation and show of commitment in supporting efforts to improve attendance across Marion County. They have donated the plaques that we'll be presenting this evening. Today we're recognizing one elementary, middle, and high school that decreased their chronic absences more than any other school at their given level. We'll begin with recognizing the most improved elementary school for chronic absenteeism. This elementary school began their school year with chronic absences reaching as high as 31%. But with their strong Tier 1 programs in place, they were able to reduce that number to 23%. That's a reduction of 8%. That is fantastic for an elementary school. While they did tie this reduction with another elementary school, Ward Highlands took it a step further and significantly reduced their tardies for the 23-24 school year as well. At this time, we would like to recognize Ward Highlands Elementary School. Accepting the award this evening is going to be Principal Mrs. Buck and her attendance team and school. Next, we move on to our middle school category. This middle school was recognized just 2 weeks ago for most improving their attendance for the second semester of the 23-24 school year and received our quarterly traveling banner for that outstanding achievement. Since Mr. Williams began his journey as principal, he and his attendance team have reduced their chronic absenteeism last school year from 35% to 28%. That's incredible work at the middle school level. At this time, we would like to recognize Liberty Middle School, Mr. Williams, and the entire attendance team for a job well done. Finally, we have our high school category. This school had chronic absences as high as 48%. But their attendance team came together to figure out solutions to get their most chronic absent students back in school on time every day. Because these huge efforts, that number dropped by 7% by the end of the school year. This is huge on the high school level. At this time, we would like to recognize Lake Weir High School Principal Mr. McAteer, and their attendance team for this outstanding reduction in chronic absences. It takes great effort to move that needle, and they really came together and did that. So we thank you. Please give them a round of applause.
We just want to say thank you. I do think that you all have the most difficult job. I know it takes every day staying on top of students that have a difficult time, families that have a difficult time getting to school. So I just want to take a minute to celebrate you and the work that you do. I know that it's not easy. We know that it's not easy. It's a conversation we have weekly. And so if you'll hold on just a minute, we'd like to come down and take a picture with you in celebration of all your hard work. So thank you.
Board members, you may need to fill in. Yeah. I think so. Reverend Cummings, can you step out to the end? There you go. So we can see you. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, couple more. One more. Great job. Thank you.
Many more we got?
Okay, the next portion of our meeting, we're going to recognize donations. It's always humbling to see the support that we get from the community. We graciously acknowledge the following donations made to benefit our schools, our students, and staff members, including $3,500 to the Silver River Museum from the Cannon Law Firm to be used to support all aspects of the Silver River Museum. $3,500 to Horizon Academy at Marion Oaks for the Heights Aluminum Incorporated to be used to support the band and the chorus programs. $1,600 to Vanguard High School from Adam Parker to be used to support the boys' golf program. Dr. Gullett, please make a recommendation on tonight's school board meeting agenda.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Once again, I recommend approval of the agenda for the September 24th, 2024 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of the following items: D24.1, D24.2, D24.3, D24.4, D24.5, D24.6, D24.7, D24.8, and D24.9 that have been placed under discussion, as well as item D24.10 that has been completely withdrawn from the agenda tonight. Thank you.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 15th, 2024 special administrative briefing and work session? May I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I think we need to go back and make sure that was carried
Oh.
for the record.
Motion carries 4-4. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 15th, 2024 special administrative briefing and work session? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-4.
4-0.
4-0, sorry. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 27th, 2024 school board meeting? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 5th, 2024 administrative briefing and work session? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 10th, 2024 special school board meeting? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the September 10th, 2024 school board meeting? May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Ms. Martinez, please provide proof of publication for tonight's school board meeting.
The notice for the September 24th, 2024 school board meeting ran in the Ocala Gazette on September 13th, 2024. The proof of publication has been attached in board docs under proof of publication.
Thank you. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing the persons who wish to address the school board this evening. Good evening, Attorney Powers.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who may wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of today's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures are available from the table in the lobby. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board's clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. This evening, speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board clerk. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to the procedures for public comment, Item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. The board is here to listen to your comments only. You may be directed to an administrative staff member following the conclusion of your comments for further assistance to address your concerns. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they'll be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students or their families are also strictly prohibited. A speaker's speech does not reflect the endorsement, sponsorship, or position or expression of the school district. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements. Madam Chair, that concludes my explanatory remarks.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Ms. Martinez, do we have any speakers this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 2 speakers. Ms. Melanie Slaughter.
Melanie Slaughter. I have a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to try to get through quickly. This is about Vanguard High School and the football stadium. I'm trying to go back in time just so we understand how we all got to this point. Vanguard High School Stadium, Booster Stadium, was built and dedicated on September 19th of 1969. The land was donated by A.M. Collins of Ocala Ice and Manufacturing Company. They provided the land for which Booster Stadium sits. And the Ocala Wildcats Booster Club paid for Booster Stadium. So Vanguard and Forest were both there at that point, and they both played their first game at Booster Stadium on September 20th of 1970, and they both shared the school. Both schools shared that stadium that was not paid for by the taxpayers of Marion County or the Marion County Public School. It's 55 years old now, and they played their first game then until 2005 when Forest had a brand new high school built and a brand new stadium. And then Booster Stadium, that was built by the Forest Boosters, not the Vanguard Boosters, was given to Vanguard High School at that point. The problems that we have with Vanguard at this point, the stadium at Vanguard or Booster Stadium, is that there are safety issues at Booster. There's standing water inside the locker rooms when it rains, making them unusable. Electrical malfunctions due to the age of the facilities. Half the lights went out during a football game. And it took a long time during the game when everybody was sitting there waiting to get it. The Ocala Electric spent 4 hours trying to fix the issue prior to the first football game, and then it broke down during a football game later on. They're having consistent electrical problems and repairs. The concession area is wide open. They have a gas grill that's falling apart and unsafe to prepare the food. The restrooms are not large enough to accommodate attendees, and they had to shut down restrooms during athletic events because there wasn't enough there. Now, this is the concession stand, which is wide open. So rain, wind, anything like that goes into the concession stand because it's not enclosed like other stands are at other stadiums within Marion County. This is the grill that food is prepared on at Booster Stadium. That's what the grill looks like. It is rusted. It is in disrepair. And it's because of all the wind and rain that comes in there and this is another example of the condition of the grill that food is prepared for at Booster Stadium. There's pipes that are rusted that don't work properly. This is the fryer area that has rust and mildew and other things on it because of the condition that it's left out in the open all the time. This is a restroom that has been boarded up because there's been problems with the plumbing. This area right here, the shower area, floods when it rains either before or after the game. And this is the locker room that also has flooding issues. These are just like storage areas there that people just leave things in. And this is a wide open top. They don't even have a roof on top of these areas. They're wide open and they don't have a roof on top. And this is another picture of a wide open area that doesn't even have a light fixture. This has a light bulb sitting up there. Now, the speakers are also a problem. They've had consistent electrical shortages and outage with the speakers at Booster Stadium. So because, and the restrooms are on septic. They don't have actual plumbing like I think pretty much everybody else does. And so because of that, if they have a big crowd, they've had to close the restrooms because sometimes the septic backs up and then no one at the athletic event can go to the restroom. I've had students at Vanguard High School and have attended things at Booster Stadium, and I have never used the restroom at Booster Stadium ever and never will because of the smell that comes out of there. So we are requesting that the school board consider the student success at Vanguard. In 2024, every single football player graduated. 21 of the football players signed college scholarships. The football program has the highest GPA in the county, and they have the most success graduating students. This is the picture of success of students who are on the football team at Vanguard High School. And be aware that the proficiency of people that are not in athletics at Vanguard High School, African Americans at Vanguard High School, 16% are proficient in math. 16%. Every one of these football players graduated, every single one. And that is the success that we're asking you to consider. And also, I was at the football game when they played Denellen this weekend, okay? And Vanguard won at the last minute by a point. And they were excited. And they started doing backflips in front of Denellen's stands. And Coach Farmer grabbed every single one of them, and they ran suicides, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because that is not what you're allowed to do at Vanguard High School. Because he is using the education at Marion County Public School to not only build students, but to build men. And I'm asking you to invest in Vanguard High School and the students at Vanguard High School, who quite frankly deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Slaughter.
Mr. Jerome Smith?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jerome Smith, SMITH. I used to be a student at Vanguard back in the early 70s. When Vanguard was first built, when they had all this other differences of people going to school there. But my thing is about the grill and about the quality of the school. It's not up to standard, just up to the rest of the schools are. If we ask for anything, it's not much. But if we get anything, it's rejected. We don't get anything to fulfill whatever needs to be done to the stadium. The stadium should have shelters over the bleachers out there, keep the sun and rain off the people. Other schools have that. So why is this one school that don't have it at all? If we want to be transparent, we want transparent, right? This is where we started. We don't start nowhere but here. Transparent. And I'm pretty sure everyone wants that. It's not asking much. It's for the students. I have grandkids go there. P.J. Williams graduated from Vanguard High School and went to the New Orleans Saints, okay? Vanguard had produced some students out there go to the NFL, NBA. So why can't we do something for them? I'm just asking the school board members to think about that, and please, for God's sakes, do something about it. Because it's our students and other kids that's going there, and soon to be going there, it's gonna need this help at this school here. We wanna bring it up to par. This is what needs to be done. Not asking for anywhere else to move to, just put some, invest in that, or the stadium, bathrooms, hook the sewage into the city. That's not asking much. And then everything should work just properly. And I appreciate the time that I've been speaking. I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for my time to be here.
Thank you. Okay, board. May I have a motion to approve the 5-year District Facilities Work Program for fiscal years 2024, 2025 through 2028, 2029? May I have a motion?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
Superintendent Gullett.
Thank you. The approval of the 5-year District Facilities Work Program for fiscal years 2024 through 2025 through the 2028-2029 school year complies with board policy and the Florida statutes. Thank you.
I declare a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the 5-year District Facilities Work Program for fiscal years 2024, 2025 through 2028, 2029? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to item 10.1 for informational purposes. The school district used a construction management delivery method, including a guaranteed maximum price, to perform construction work on the following projects. There were unused funds on these projects. Since the projects were delivered using a construction management delivery with a GMP format, unused dollars, regardless of the item, are returned to the owner. The unspent monies will be returned to the owner via change order, which will close the financial books on these projects. The superintendent has signed and approved the change orders. Per Board Policy 6345, the superintendent is authorized to approve and execute any construction contract change order that will increase the construction contract by $25,000 or less, or that will decrease the construction contract amount, provided that the approval will be, in her judgment, in the best interest of the board. Such change orders will be binding upon execution by the superintendent. The superintendent shall report each change order that she approved to the board meeting that follows her approval. The superintendent's approval of the change orders will be entered into the official minutes of the board meeting. 10.1, Amendment Number 1, the construction manager contract, guaranteed maximum price for equipment early procurement related to construction of new elementary school W, change order number 1, amendment number 1, project 24-101, in the amount of $17,732.92. 10.2, amendment number 2 to the construction manager contract, guaranteed maximum price for early site work and materials, procurement related to construction of new elementary school X, change order number 2, amendment number 2, project 24-102, in the amount of $25,423.48. 10.3, amendment number 3 to the construction manager contract, guaranteed maximum price for labor and materials consisting of interior construction related to construction of new elementary school X. Change order number 2, amendment number 3, project 24-102, in the amount of $8,703.95. I feel like these are tongue twisters because it says construction so many times. 10.4, amendment number 3 to the construction manager contract, guaranteed maximum price for labor and materials consisting of interior construction related to construction of new elementary school X. Change order number 3, amendment number 3, project 24-102, in the amount of $140,790. 10.5, amendment number 3 to the construction manager contract, guaranteed maximum price for labor and materials consisting of interior construction related to construction of new elementary school X, change order number 4, amendment number 3, project 24-102, in the amount of $39,887.27. 10.6, guaranteed maximum price for Osceola Middle School new gymnasium, change order number 1, amendment number 1, project 24-109, in the amount of $42,791.18. Board, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C12.1 through C21.1, with the exception of items D24.1, D24.2, D24.3, D24.4, D24.5, D24.6, D24.7, D24.8, and D24.9. That has been placed under discussion.
So move.
One little bit more. And the item D24.10, that has been completely withdrawn from the agenda. Thank you, Reverend Cummings. Can I get a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to student disciplinary matters. Before addressing expulsion matters, I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through August 26, 2024. Ms. Martinez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 25-005, JD 25-008, JD 25-010E, and JD 25-011 without educational services for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year and the first quarter of the 2025-2026 school year. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to discussion items. D24.1. May I have a motion to approve the Sixth Amendment to Agreement with Instructure Incorporated? Dr. Gullett, do you have information you'd like to share regarding this item?
So
Do a
moved.
motion in a second,
Oh, I apologize.
and I'll do the second.
Okay, I didn't get the first.
Reverend
Reverend Cummings, thank you for the first. Campbell, thank you for the second. Dr. Gullett, can you provide some information for us?
Happy to, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. As we've done in the past, some of these items are grouped together. So the first two items will be presentations by Mr. Benvenuti, who's going to come forward. And I know you need to vote separately, but just he will provide some information beginning with this first item, which is at the cost, if you approve it, $550,000, and is an amendment to allow us to have the learning management system continue. So Mr. Benvenuti, thank you.
Hi. Good evening, Vice Chair Conrad, board members, and Dr. Gullett, Superintendent. The Technology and Information Services Department seeks approval to amend the existing agreement with Instructure Incorporated. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice there. Instructure Incorporated, the district's learning management system provider, also known as Canvas, so give it that name so everybody recognizes it. As the foundation for our district's digital learning infrastructure, Canvas is essential in facilitating and enhancing the educational experience for students and staff. The platform allows us to create dynamic, personalized digital learning environments that cater to the diverse needs of our academic community, from K-12 students to district employees. Canvas delivers instructional content, assignments, and assessments to students, providing educators with powerful tools for curriculum development, collaboration, communication. The platform's integration with various third-party applications further enhances its flexibility, enabling the seamless access to resources that support student success. Beyond the classroom, Canvas also serves as home for the district's professional learning catalog. This catalog allows administrators, faculty, and staff to access various professional development opportunities, including live and on-demand webinars, certification programs, and instructional guides. The proposed amendments to the agreement with Instructure, Canvas, will cover the subscription and support services, ensuring the district has ongoing access to technical support, software updates, system enhancements. This support is critical to maintain the platform's functionality, security, and overall effectiveness as we adapt in the evolving educational demands. These resources are invaluable in promoting the culture of continuous learning and professional development across the district. We respectfully request your approval of this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenuti. I appreciate you elaborating on that for us. Board, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item D24.2, may I have a motion to approve the Sourcewell Contract 121923-CDW, Technology Products and Services?
So
May
moved.
I have a second?
Second, sorry.
Dr. Gullett? Mr.
Yes.
Benvenuti coming back?
Yes,
he
Mr.
stayed.
Benvenuti
Thank you,
remains
Ms.
at the podium. Board, the cost for this item is $980,000, and Mr. Benvenuti is going to share some more information about how we can remain competitive in purchasing these needed items for our schools. Thank you.
All right. The Technology and Information Department seeks approval to utilize the Sourcewell Contract 121923 with CDW to procure essential technology products and services. Sourcewell offers a competitively solicited contract that allows the district to acquire a wide range of technology solutions at a reduced prices, ensuring cost effectiveness purchasing while addressing the district's technology needs. This contract covers various products, including network infrastructure, computer peripherals, printers, server management, and UPS power solutions. These items are critical for maintaining the district's digital learning environment and supporting operational efficiencies from classroom technology to administration tools. The contract also provides access to IT software, ensuring that our devices and systems remain secure and current with the latest advancements. Additionally, the contract includes audio and video technologies such as interactive displays and video conferencing systems, which are essential for modern teaching, remote learning, district-wide communications. Beyond products, the contract offers IT services like installation and technical support, ensuring that technology is implemented and maintained effectively throughout the district. We respectfully request approval to utilize this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Benvenuti. Board, is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item D 24.3, may I have a motion to approve the grant application IDEA B Preschool Entitlement 2024-2025? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Gullett, do you have information to share with us on this item?
I do. Thank you again, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. So the next two items are also grouped, and we're now moving into the grant proposal for the IDEA, also known as Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And the first item that we are requesting your approval of is approximately $454,000 that would provide needed services to our 3 to 5 year olds that qualify. So Ms. Williams-Jones is here to provide additional information. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Chair Conrad, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Gullett. So the information that I'm going to share really encompasses both of the entitlement grants that are on the agenda this evening. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, governs how states and public agencies provide early intervention, exceptional student education, and related services to students with disabilities. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act Entitlement Grant provides funds to states and school districts to ensure that eligible students with disabilities receive a free and appropriate public education. The priorities of IDEA are to ensure that all children with disabilities have available to them a free and appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services designed to meet their unique needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. It is a goal that we identify children with special needs before they enter school, providing services to help them. A priority is to develop individualized education plans that focus on improving educational results through the general curriculum. A priority to educate children with disabilities with their non-disabled peers. A priority to set higher expectations for students who are disabled and ensuring that schools are held accountable. A priority is to strengthen the role of parents and foster partnerships between parents and schools, and ensure that the rights of children with disabilities and their parents are protected. Here in Marion County Public Schools, we serve 7,970 students with disabilities. This includes 422 pre-K students with disabilities. In addition to academic supports which may be provided in general education or special education classrooms, students may also receive behavior supports, counseling, speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, vision impairment, and deaf and hard of hearing services. An important use of grant funds is the hiring of staff who provide direct supports to students. The IDEA grant dollars fund special needs paraprofessionals, behavior specialists, and behavior technicians. In addition, the grant funds technology resources and supplies, including access to curriculum platforms, assistive technology applications, and technology-related repairs, so that all of our students have access to the necessary educational supports.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams-Jones. That was very informative. Board, are there any discussion or questions? Okay, then we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Ms. Williams-Jones, do you have anything else to share for the next, or you had it all in one?
It was all in one.
All right, thank you so much. Board, may I have a motion to approve the grant application IDEA B for K-12 Entitlement 2024-2025? May I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Second, thank you. Board, is there any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. All right, moving on to item D24.5. May I have a motion to approve the First Amendment with Growing Leaders Incorporated? May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Second, thank you. Dr. Gullett, do you have information you'd like to share regarding this item?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I do. The cost of this item is about $261,000, or $262,000 rounded up. This addresses our mental health and wellness and our Habitudes curriculum, including that work we do with resiliency. So Ms. Del Nodal is here to provide some additional information as we are looking at this First Amendment for this curriculum. Thank you.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Our district utilizes the Habitudes curriculum from Growing Leaders to teach and reinforce the required resiliency standards and skills for all secondary students. Recent updates to the program offer different options for content delivery, and the lessons themselves now include more engaging videos, speakers, and activities. Lessons can be delivered in instructor-led whole class format and/or small student-led groups, which encourages student participation. Updates to the content and modalities included feedback from students to increase relevance and engagement. This amendment allows us to continue our partnership with Growing Leaders and purchase a 3-year subscription to continue providing effective curriculum that consistently supports building resiliency in our students.
Thank you very much. Board, do you have any questions, any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to item D24.6, may I have a motion to approve the special data share agreement with IXL Learning Incorporated? May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Dr. Gullett, do you have information you'd like to share with us regarding this item?
I do, Madam Vice Chair. Thank you. This item request is approximately $250,000, and this is at the request from our site-based leaders, our principals, who are asking for consideration of this item. Dr. Brewer is going to come forward and provide some additional information, but we appreciate your consideration of this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Brewer.
Good evening, Vice Chair Conrad, board members, and Superintendent Dr. Gullett. IXL Learning is an integrated, personalized, interactive curriculum learning platform that can provide additional teaching tools in the areas of English, language arts, math, science, and social studies for grades K through 12. IXL Learning also provides our teachers with a continuous diagnostics, a comprehensive curriculum, a personalized guidance, and actionable analytics to personalize instruction for small group or individual work for the students to gain fluency and confidence and to reach their full potential. So at the conclusion of the 23-24 school year, during the analysis of the data from IXL, the schools met within a committee led by the district leaders to really examine what the school data looked like and which direction we would move towards for the 24-25 school year. The committee tried out demo sites from different programs that had more adaptive features in them. And the committee did select a different program, Success Maker, as the district-wide purchase. However, as Dr. Gullett stated, this is a site-based decision, and as always, our principals have discretion to purchase additional resources that meet the best needs of all of their students. And so we have 6 schools that have chosen to purchase IXL to meet the needs of students and teachers on their campus. But Ms. Kynard and Ms. Riedel, Mr. Frazier, and I are available for questions if you have any.
Board, any discussion on this item? Okay, Dr. Campbell.
Sure. I don't have any questions, but I am grateful that we continue to allow it to be a site-based decision. As I've discussed with you all, there are schools and teachers that are using IXL for homework and practice purposes, and it works very well in their classroom settings and for those specific sites. So I'm grateful that we continue, even though the district is moving in another direction, those educators that are used to this process and this program are going to be able to use it. And so I'm grateful for that.
Thank you, Dr. Brewer, and you really answered my questions in your presentation, so thank you very much. Oh, Dr. James, I'm sorry.
The principal has to get, when the principal gets a license for their site or requests it, is that for, are they saying how many students they would need it for?
Yes, it's a school license at that point.
So then it's more expensive to have a school license than to have a license for just 20 kids or something, right?
But that's how the quote would work. It would be for a school.
Okay, I'm just thinking if there's only 1 or 2 teachers at a school, but they find it very beneficial, the principal may decide that they don't want to get a license for their site. Is that feasible?
That might be feasible, but what they would do is the quote would cover the amount of teachers using that particular program. So a license at Westport High School would be much greater than Anthony Elementary. So it's based on the teachers and the students of that school.
Okay, but presuming they all use it, kind of like accelerated reader and how that is site by site, right? Okay.
So like in a secondary school, only your English language arts or your math teachers would use it. So when we look at the data for that, we might see 57% of the teachers using it, but that's not necessarily a bad number because you're only going to use it for your English and your ELA or your math teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Did that answer it?
Yeah, I guess what I'm just thinking is if you're a teacher at a site where it's not being used and you want to use it, what would be the best recourse for that teacher or group of teachers who may want to use the program?
I think they would speak to their principal, and then we would work with the vendor to see what best quote we could get for that school.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. James. Reverend Cummings, did you have anything? Okay. Sorry about that. Dr. Brewer, I just want to say thank you for your presentation because I was concerned if we only had 6 schools, what our teachers were going to use other than the text to provide practice for standards. And so one thing, would you clarify if this is correct with Success Maker, because it is associated with as a remedial program from years past, but this piece also has an enrichment, is that correct?
Yes, that's why the committee chose this particular program, because of the adaptive feature in it. And so I wanted to emphasize that part of this program.
Okay, thank you. Will all students be using it or select? Yes.
Yes, all students.
All students are.
Yes, all for Success Maker, not all for IXL.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, board, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, public and charter school recommendations? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, Dr. Gullett, do you have information for us on this item?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Just briefly, Board, you recall that on September 19th, we had a work session on this item. This is the annual report known as the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, as FSAT, most people know it by. And we're requesting your permission to upload this. This provides that web-based program to provide the data to use by not just our public schools, but our charter schools as well. The assessments that are required to the state in order so that we are eligible for the state of Florida Safety Schools Grant. So again, we had a pretty extensive presentation by Mr. McFadden on this item on September 19th at a work session. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Board, any discussion? Yes.
Thank you, and this may be more of an Attorney Powers question, maybe potentially with Dr. Gullett. I know that we did have extensive conversation, but at this juncture, we have nothing uploaded that we're actually voting on, so there's no executive content, administrative content, or anything there. I know we have a deadline that we have to have this done by October 1st, so we're about to vote on something that we haven't physically seen. And I knew that the conversation was that it was going to be uploaded, but I don't see anything. I kind of I was holding out hope that it would get there sometime today but.
I don't know if Attorney Powers wants to weigh in. Mr. McFadden is on his way back from Emergency Operations Center. He's there on my behalf right now, so I know we already know he's on his way. We want to table it. Oh, Ms. Barnes, can you speak to it? Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. You are correct. October the 1st is the date that we actually submitted to the state. The FSAT, which is the Florida Safe School Assessment Tool, has been conducted at each and every site. We have submitted the majority of them. We're just waiting on one more a training to take place so we can have that one completed. It didn't make sense to send it in as the training to be done tomorrow as people have been moving around, but all have been completed. And at that point, they all have been submitted. We just have a final submission to do.
I just don't know what we're voting on.
Yeah, I don't
20,
know.
right, 24.7. Attorney Powers, would you mind advising us as to how?
Right, I mean, essentially, the approval of the tool is something that has to be, I mean, the board would have to view the tool in order to be able to
Attorney
approve
Powers,
it. but-
can you lean in for me? Thank you.
Obviously, in order to approve the tool, the board would have to be able to view the tool in order to do that. These are standard sort of revisions that are made, but I mean, I would have to rely on safe school staff to tell us what those revisions are, but certainly as to a final approval, the document would have to be present for the board to, ensure that that was within the board's purview. I mean, the board was actually approving what was uploaded, so if it's not uploaded, cannot currently approve.
Okay.
Okay, but then that document would be forthcoming. Ms. McFadden, with everything that was happening, he couldn't make it here. He did phone to say that he was on his way, but he wouldn't make it in time.
And I have not received, though, if the board members have received separately an email with that document, then it just needs to be provided for public view. But to my knowledge, I mean, I have not received
Not
it.
looking like anybody did.
So then would that be a motion to table or?
No, it would have to be removed from the agenda and then placed on another agenda.
Because this is a time-sensitive situation, has to be done by the 1st. Is it possible that we can possibly have a special board meeting?
We will, back to our conversation in our shade, I don't think we have we don't have probable advertisement opportunities to do that.
That's why we could call a special or emergency board meeting too.
But is it emergency? It's not an,
No, it's,
Time-sensitive. It's very time-sensitive, because it has to be there by the 1st, correct?
Right, the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, I believe, would meet health, safety, and welfare guidelines to be able to place it on, if we advertise it on the website
Right.
tomorrow, so that we could have a meeting for approval on Monday.
Right.
if you believe that it meets the emergency criteria.
72 hours would be what I would anticipate is necessary, and that includes weekends as well. So if we advertise it tomorrow, we'd be fine for Monday. But that doesn't require, only the 24-hour emergency meetings require notice within, within whatever's practicable. I mean, literally emergency, 24 hours or less. In this case, 72 hours is a requirement for a special board meeting. And that certainly we have time to do. We'd have to set that on a special agenda for Monday in order to be able to achieve that.
Madam Chair, I request that we do a special board meeting on Monday.
Okay.
And it be put on the website tomorrow. That would give us time to get it approved before the October 1st deadline.
okay. Ms. Martinez, can you send that out to us? An invitation for the 1st?
And I just want to slow down here for a moment to make sure that Superintendent Gullett has an opportunity to advise as to
Yes,
both availability and anything she may want to say on that.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Madam Vice Chair, I just want to ask Ms. Barnes to confirm that we can get all of the documents to the board and be prepared for that with proper notification for Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
What time are we scheduling the meeting?
We have agenda review at 8 a.m., so it would have to be after that.
And I personally have an obligation at 11:45.
You have what?
Something at 11:45.
Okay.
But you just need a quorum, so.
9 o'clock is fine for me.
Okay. I'm open in the morning.
Oh, I can do the morning.
Well, typically, agenda review takes longer than an hour, so
We do the
Can we
afternoon.
do it before agenda review?
agenda review's at 8 a.m.
Do it before agenda review at 7:37? It's going to be one thing on that.
Agenda review can be moved to after, that way we would have time certain. So, I mean, I don't want to speak for the superintendent, but we could move the agenda review to immediately follow a special board meeting, have the special board meeting at 8, 8:30, 9, whatever you wanted, and then follow with agenda review after, because that doesn't require quite as much flexibility in everyone's schedule. Just a proposal.
8 a.m. works.
If it works for the board, we could certainly do 8 o'clock for the meeting and follow with agenda review. I think that is absolutely flexible.
And just for advertising purposes, if it is a special board meeting and we had it in by tomorrow, we would still actually get it in this week's publication. Is that correct?
Well, we would advertise it on our website as a special meeting.
Okay, but we could still meet the 72 hours if it went in a Friday publication for Monday.
Yes, we would, if it went in Friday publication.
Yes.
Though I do not know that we can meet Friday publication with Ocala Gazette.
It's not any longer Wednesday at noon? Okay.
I thought it was Wednesday at noon ahead of the Friday publication.
Okay, so if you're having a meeting on the 30th, it would have to have been already advertised on September 20th, 1 week before.
It only needs 72 hours.
What we're saying, though, is this doesn't need 7 days, this only needs 3 calendar days. So if we submit something to the Gazette by tomorrow at noon, it will be published on Friday, is that correct?
Tomorrow by noon, yes, for the 72 hours.
Okay, so I
We can
think,
publish both on the website and through the Ocala Gazette. And also, I will note that announcing in a public meeting is also served as another form of notice. We have to show that with emergency or special board meetings, we take all action in order to provide maximum notice. This has already been calendared, so the public has had notice. I note that no public was here to speak on this item anyway, but we also, the item was not uploaded. So we now have the ability to advertise on the website, number one. Number two, in the Ocala Gazette. Number three, it's been advertised as for now, so that it was known that it was upcoming. And number four, we're noticing it right now on YouTube, which the whole world watches.
That's four ways you've done it.
Yes.
I think we're good.
Monday morning, 8 a.m., special board meeting for agenda item 24.7 currently. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, very good. Thank you for catching that. All right. Attorney Powers, do I need to do anything with this item that has a motion, a second?
No, ma'am, at this
No, just-
point. At this point, I believe that constitutes that we would be voluntarily withdrawing that item.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to item D 24.8. May I have a motion to utilize Florida Department of Education bid ITB 2023-02 for the purchase of 8 new school buses? May I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Dr. Gullett, do you have information you'd like to share on this item?
Yes, I do. And again, we're back to, excuse me, we have 2 items that are back to back. Madam Vice Chair, we have items regarding purchase of buses through transportation. Ms. Dobbins is here to do a presentation on those items. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice Chair, Board Members, Superintendent Dr. Gullett. Yes, I get to bring you something shiny and new for a change. So as you're aware, we transport approximately 22,000 students, almost 32,000 miles a day. So in the next 2 items, we have the ability to purchase 12 new 77-passenger school buses. Of those 12, 4 of them will have the lift mechanism for our students with wheelchairs. With this, I'd like to point out that these funds, as we saw earlier, we had the 5-year facility work plan on our agenda. So when we talk about purchasing buses, we actually are categorized to fund our buses through our capital outlay. So we are trying to build schools and maintain schools and everything, and it includes the money we also allocate to buses. So we allocated just over $2 million. As you see, these two items are just under $2 million. We're going to also wrap around a couple of van purchases that you'll see coming forward. But just like our 5-year work plan, as you are aware, we only fund 20% of our projects for facilities. We also underfund our need for transportation as well. It goes hand in hand as we stretch those dollars. If we were to fully fund the need for bus replacements, we would need approximately $5 million per year. So we're just $3 million short of having a cycle of replenishing our buses, but this does get us 12 buses, of which is just under $2 million.
Thank you, Ms. Dobbins. Board, is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Item D 24.9, may I have a motion to utilize Florida Department of Education bid ITB 2023-02 for the purchase of 4 new school buses with lifts. May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Board, is there any discussion on the buses with lifts? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to meeting reminders, the next school board meeting has been scheduled for October 8th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. The next administrative briefing and work session has been scheduled for October 17th, 2024 at 9 a.m. A special school board meeting has been scheduled for October 22nd, 2024 at 7:30. Dr. Gullett, do you have any comments for us this evening?
Thank you. Just briefly, just want to thank Preston Bolin, everyone at the Emergency Operations Center, Emergency Management Team. As you know, it's been very busy. It is hurricane season, and we have been preparing diligently for the storm, now tropical storm Helene, which we anticipate will be a hurricane. We have made announcements that there will be no school on Thursday, and employees should not report to work. And we will make an announcement as soon as we have information. We've been spending quite a bit of time over there at the Emergency Operations Center, and we'll continue to keep our students, families, and employees aware in our community as well of what the storm brings for us. I just want to say it's been a pleasure to work so collaboratively with so many of the agencies in this community. Not everyone has the great pleasure of working so close and side by side and making these very difficult decisions, but we're always going to prioritize the safety of our students and our families and our community. So more to come. We will keep everyone posted, but most importantly, we want everyone to be safe. We want our students to be safe, we want our families to be safe, our employees and everyone. So I wish everyone that, and again, more communication will follow as we stay tuned to what this looks like and the path that this storm follows. So very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Ms. Martinez, anything from your office?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Attorney Powers, anything from legal?
Nothing from legal, thank you.
Okay. We have our student representatives who've been waiting all evening. We're so glad you guys are here with us this evening. Ms. Diaz, would you like to share? Do you have any comments to share with us this evening?
Yes. Today I just wanted to emphasize the importance of being aware of the hurricane that is approaching. As we track this storm, just to prepare your homes by securing outdoor items and just stocking up on essentials such as food and water, and ensure that you have a plan for evacuation if necessary. I just wanted to state that if it does come to this point, Westport is a shelter area for those who do need it. We are starting tomorrow in the afternoon, I believe at 4. And we also are serving as a pet shelter if necessary. And I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bawani, do you have comments to share with us this evening?
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to talk about the recognitions earlier today because it was a teacher from my school, Bellevue High School. So I just wanted to say that seeing such a hardworking teacher like Miss Grace get recognized is very well deserved because she's an inspiration to many around her and spreads nothing but kindness all the time. And I've heard many exceptional things about her from my peers. Like all of the students are like, oh my God, Miss Grace is so amazing. I love having her as a teacher and stuff. Both as a teacher and as a person. I've never had her, which sucks, but I have spoken to her at times, and she has treated me just as well as she treats others. So congratulations to her once again, and to all the other social studies teachers that got recognized as well. And on the second note, there obviously has been stated that Tropical Storm Helene is coming up, and I just want to say that, emphasize one, that obviously, as stated before, MCPS will be closed on Thursday, so no school, and everyone's staying home, staying safe. So make sure you all stay safe and be cognizant of the news to stay updated on the hurricane effects around your area. Just, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. James, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Before you do, I just would like to, from legal's perspective, I'm reviewing something on one of our agenda items before we conclude tonight. And that was as to the agenda item with the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool. I'm just reading over the best practice form, so I want to bring it to the board's attention because I don't want to misstate anything for the board. When Dr. Campbell brought it up, I'm reading on the best practice form. It does indicate that due to the required level of confidentiality, the school-based FSSAT cannot be publicly shared, so it wouldn't necessarily be provided to the public or uploaded that way. However, as you indicated, it didn't appear that anything was actually shared with the board. Now, I do note that we had, from the prior board action dates, there was a work session September 7th where in 2023 was presented, September 26th, 2023 approved, and then September 9th of 2024, there was a presentation of it at the work session. So my understanding is that we're still waiting on a physical document. I don't know how that works with it's an online application. So I just want to make sure before, it has been withdrawn at this point, but I want to make sure that I don't misstate anything about what we're waiting on. I assume that there is still a document that the board needs to be provided with to review. Is that accurate?
Did we receive a document last year?
I just don't want to misstate if I said, well, the board's waiting on something and give unclear direction. So I want to make sure that direction is sorted out before we conclude.
The FSAT tool itself and the contents of it, it is confidential, as it is showing our strong points as well as our weak points and what we're working on and all our improvements and everything that we have in place to safeguard our campuses and everyone on the campuses. So as far as another document, we can do a summary or something to say that, yes, this has been completed and is being submitted to the state.
From my understanding, in the past, we've never uploaded a specific document. There was always something like a forward-facing summation of what that did not violate confidential things.
Right, and I think there's a valid question is if the board is being asked to approve the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, what is the board being asked to approve? Now, we have made, I understand, a number of submissions regarding the FSSAT to the folks who need to receive that information, right, correct?
That is correct.
And so that has been accomplished, but as to a board approval of that, I would also still leave with the question of I don't know what the board can approve. So if the board is asking me as your legal counsel, I don't have enough information. So I just, if I wanted to give opportunity for staff to chime in if there's something else that I'm not understanding or that needs to be presented again on Monday. I didn't want to obligate anyone into areas that are beyond their capability because of statutory concerns.
So ironically, in a search I just did, we had a special school board meeting on September 26th of last year. to approve this. And I'm not certain if there were other items in that special school board meeting. It doesn't look to me like there may have been an upload at the time, but again, that's just a quick search. But there was a special board meeting we held to do this, potentially for the same conversations we're having right now. So if there's individual briefings we can receive, or however that, it's just difficult to know what we're actually voting on without having additional information.
Right, and I show that in addition to that board meeting on September 26th, that there was a work session on September 19th, just recently, in which there was a presentation of the material. So if it's an approval of the material presented, then perhaps simply that document, which has already been uploaded, is what the board is seeking to approve. But that would require that the board take a moment and go back and review that as it has prior to the work session and move forward. So,
Yeah, Dr. James.
Ms. Barnes, was the intention of the Safe Schools Department for us to vote based on the work session information we had been received?
I would venture out to say I believe so, due to the fact that when we presented last week, we also had recommendations after the assessments had been done as far as what different things we would need to implement in order to take our safety to the next level.
Without being specific to sites,
Excuse me?
without it being specific to certain sites.
Yes, there were general,
There
in
were
the work
general-
session.
General recommendations.
Correct. We were not, we compiled
Right.
the various things from the various sites without saying which site would need whatever particular upgrades.
Madam Vice Chair, may I? Correct. We cannot share specific information by site for safety reasons, and Ms. Martinez has confirmed that last year the board approved it without the attachment, and it followed the same pattern. Last year we did the work session, shared the information we could share, and approved this being submitted to the state.
Okay.
Correct, Ms. Martinez?
That is correct.
Yeah, so I guess my question would be, I think that similar to the union contract, which I know is typically emailed to us ahead of time, but we don't have a work session on the union contract, but the union contract is not uploaded. So if this is the traditional way of work for this item, and we're using the information we received in the work session to frame our vote, then is there a way to, is there a way to put the item back on the agenda?
Yes, we're within the same meeting, so we can rescind the withdrawal. And it just requires that we stop with board comments and go and.
I recommend that we rescind the withdrawal and add it back to the agenda
Okay.
for tonight.
You have to have a second?
I second that.
Okay.
Then we just.
Given that, I would recycle exactly where you were with that item and then proceed back to board comments.
All right, 1 second, while I find, there's a lot of writing on this page.
D24.7.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion to approve the Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool, Public and Charter School Recommendation? May I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we can pick back up with board comments. Attorney Powers, does that conclude
Yes.
yours? Okay, thank you. Dr. James?
Thank you. Good evening. I don't have a ton of comments for this evening. I do just have a quick question that I would like for us to discuss. There is an off-air portion where we're going to discuss C23.1. And so my question first is, why does it have to be off-air? I have a few questions about this as well, but the questions I have are not pertaining to student information, but more to our procedures. And so I would like to be able to have the discussion as the board about the procedures related to these consequences that are not tied to student name, number, et cetera. And so is that,
The only reason for off-air presentation would be if any specific and individual case or identifiable information from it is going to be presented by anyone on each of these items. So if we're pulling an individual item out and there's discussion about anything which could present identifiable information, that's the reason for off-air presentation. If the board doesn't mind me wagging my finger at you and telling you don't do that, then this can be an on-air conversation that you can have. The only issue, of course, is if it gets down into, well, for example, in JD 123, this is what the discipline record says, or that student's name comes up, or further information needs to be directed about that, then that's a portion that will need to be necessarily had off air.
Well, I just have a pretty simple question. I say that, of course, and I chuckle, but in prior briefings, I personally experienced with staff about transitioning to doing expulsions without services, which is something we approved earlier in the agenda. I was under the impression that if a student offended while at our alternative site, which we are collectively calling MTI, and it was an expellable offense, that they would then be granted the opportunity for an expulsion without services. And the last impression I had was that was the case. And so the confusion I have now is that we have expulsions with services that are maintaining their site at MTI, that are in this group of expulsions C23.1. And so that is the premise of my question that I would like. If there's a more appropriate time this evening to discuss it, that's fine. I can move on to just a few other remarks. Or if we're going to take time now to discuss it, that's fine too.
That's within the purview of the board chair. It was selected as an off-air item with my recommendation based on the fact that something could come up which identified an individual. At this point, we're in board comments. It's been set as an off-air portion. That doesn't mean that when we get to it, we can't still retain it as an on-air conversation. And certainly, if the board is willing to heed what I've just indicated, then we can proceed with that as an on-air portion, and then conclude immediately after. No problem with that, of course. However, I would still recommend we go through the board comments and then go to that item.
Okay. That's fine. Thank you. Not a lot of other comments. I'm grateful that as a community and through strategic thinking, we have tentatively only closing school for Thursday, and we're leaving Friday on the table. I know as a community there's a lot of varying thought about how we should handle hurricanes, and there's never a right answer for the collective group. Some people are mad at us because we don't close enough days, and others are frustrated with us because we waited too long or we did too many days. And so I am grateful that we are going to wait for more data to come in tomorrow before we make any further decisions about Friday. With the safety of our students and our staff always being at the top of mind, I also think that our students are often, many of them, safest at our schools. And so if we can get them into our schools, which may very well have power where their home does not, and may have the opportunity to receive a meal at our home where they might not at their home, our school rather, versus their home, I always want to see that happen if possible. So I'm grateful for the team working tirelessly to kind of game day plan it and adjust accordingly. So that's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. Reverend Cummings?
Just clarity first. There is no special meeting Monday morning.
That would be correct. We're not going to advertise it as such. We're not going to place it on the website. We're not going to move forward with that unless there was another reason for a request for not emergency meeting, but a special meeting on Monday. If anyone knows of another reason for a separate reason for a special meeting on Monday, we can, as of now, set one for that date. But otherwise, we don't have to.
And I just said that because sometimes the public is paying attention, but they may not understand what just happened, that we did go back and revisit that and passed it. So I did want to say that. I do want to encourage everyone to please as well be safe on this storm that's coming. And I think our junior board member for taking the bull by the horns and open up shelter. So,
Thank you for your encouragement.
that
Thank
was
you.
very courageous. Thank you. We do know that those shelters are going to be possibly open, and so this is what I want to say to the public. Don't wait till the last minute to get there or to make a decision that you need to evacuate or whatever. If our people that are transporting them to those shelters, please take advantage early and not wait till the last minute. Because once it's in process, things happen and you can't get there. And we want everyone to be as safe as possible. So please do the right thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about briefly is I heard the presentation from Ms. Slaughter. I heard the presentation from Mr. Smith concerning Booster Stadium. It is old. It is old. It's my age. So I played there and it was bad then in the 80s. So I can imagine what it looks like now. And you're right. You've had many student athletes come through that field that have gone on to bigger, greater things. So I'm thinking that there has to be some type of community collaboration, not just with the school board. Because again, when Ms. Slaughter gave the history of it, the boosters paid for that. They built it, the land was donated, so there has to be a community collaboration for that, and it can't all come to us. I think we can help on how we negotiate, how we bring this back to the community and get it done. So I think there has to be some more conversations, Mr. Smith, Ms. Slaughter, on how we get this done, but I do see the need, and I think we have to move on it at some point. Right. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Reverend Cummings. Dr. Campbell.
That'll be a good segue, but I'm actually going to save that to the very end. So thank you for touching on that, Reverend Cummings. So I first wanted to piggyback on what our student representative, Ms. Bawani, mentioned earlier. I had to give Miss Grace a hug from Bellevue High School because last year she had a Campbell boy for 2 class periods, and this year she has a Campbell boy for 2 class periods. So she teaches the junior year a couple of classes with the ACE program, and so that alone, having my children on block days for 4 hours at a time is just, she deserved a hug for sure. But grateful for the folks that are representing us for sure. Our social studies teachers all across the district are amazing people. Love that we received this little guide here that includes not only the United States Constitution, but also the Declaration of Independence. Both of those are included here, so thank you to our friends from the Daughters of American Revolution who have given that to us. We did have another item earlier this evening that was withdrawn, and I mentioned it at the last board meeting when we had the same item withdrawn. So I'm just mentioning it again, and that is the collective bargaining agreement with our Marion Education Association. So that had to be withdrawn again. So I'm very hopeful that in the very near future that we will be able to vote on that because the board has been ready. We did this evening approve the 5-year work program. I just wanted to make a point. As we talk with Ms. Dobbins and the team about the 5-year work program every year, we know that we're really only approving year 1 of that because every time we approve it, we're approving a different schedule for what happens in years 2 through 5, though we are submitting something to the state. Something that was in this year's that we did just approve, I hesitated in my vote, but I determined just to go ahead and move forward with it, knowing what I just said is still the case. In year 5 of what we approved tonight, it shows the rubberized track for the first time being put in a high school, and it's going to go to Forest. And in prior years, the first one was going to be Westport. And so I know, again, that is a moving target because we don't have the money really ever, and HVAC systems always trump the rubberized track that we need at all of these high schools. But I just wanted to make that as a point because at some point we have to get serious about it, and at some point we have to dedicate $1 million a year to getting this done. And so right now we're not at all. It's not obviously in this first year of our plan. And as we continue to progress, we need to put a real plan in place on how we're going to make that happen. That's what's best for our students. It's what's best for our student athletes and the safety of all of those that are participating in track, which we received an email at Westport is 150 students, which is the largest sport we have that's touching any one single group of students. So we have to get serious about that, board. So, I talked about it in our work session, and I'm talking about it again. So please know that I'm going to continue to push for that in coming years for sure, and as the money becomes available. But I also am going to end my comments on the Booster Stadium conversation. As you know, on Thursday, I also recommended that in the priority list, you all saw that, it's publicly available. That was something that I wanted us to talk about. Board, you also know in that conversation, we left the table with some money on the table. We had some folks that came this evening that made a very passionate, and there were other people in the audience that did not stand up to speak. I fully believe that we need to potentially even adjust those priorities and dedicate at least a couple $1 million to the safety of our students and community at Booster Stadium if that is what this community wants. I know I was recommending that we actually build a brand new stadium on the Vanguard property. What I heard tonight from community members and those that were in the audience is they want Booster Stadium and they want it to be refurbished. And if that's what the real priority is, then I believe, board, we need to consider saying, if the community supports the sales surtax, as we now have a document that says all the things that we said we were going to do, we left about $9 million of unspent money. And I believe that we need to at least dedicate a couple $1 million of that to say, community, we hear you. And if this sales tax becomes a capital funding mechanism for us, our student safety, which is a part of that tax referendum language, that we can update school facilities for the safety of our students and frankly for the community. And so that is my plea to you, board, that we could even make that decision right now. If it was 2 million, 3 million, whatever the number is, but we did leave some money, quote unquote, unspent of the 335 million projected. So those are my comments, and I certainly would welcome the discussion if you're willing to have it.
Well, that list that we talked about last Thursday work session, and I support us doing something for Booster Stadium. When we talked about that facilities and the surtax, we do know. I don't want anyone walking away from here thinking that it's a definite that they're going to get this money for that, because as priorities come, those that are top priority are going to make trump that. I would love to just say we fix Booster, but I think we do need to have Booster on the plan somewhere. But I don't know if we can just say that we're going to take part of those money, because it's basically like a wish list. I think we kind of established that the other day. And I don't want the community to say, you guys said you're going to get us a new stadium, and it doesn't happen that way. I think we have to have them on the list. And that's why I said a collaborative project with the community. Taxes are the community. Former players, for us as a whole. And I think it can get done. I believe it can get done. I just don't want the community to walk away saying that they're going to get $2 million or $9 million, and it doesn't happen. That's the only part I'm afraid of.
If I may, I would just also point out that wish list might be one way to put it, but I would also say it's a list of board priorities that is a guidance tool. It is not an end-all be-all. As the board was discussing, the board was made keenly aware by everyone that the potential costs were estimates, and they were based on a number of factors, some of which aren't foreseeable, that they could be less or more depending on what was contributed to each of those. And I think that as board guidance, the list that you've put there in place will then be, there will be multiple future opportunities to bring those back to the table for further board discussion on which priorities as those get narrowed down. But of course, the items that you want on the list, we need to make sure are on the list for board priorities. Beyond that, as to exact details, I would recommend for the board that to remember that with also after figuring out the details of what building is going to happen, then also there is a citizen review committee that's going to happen that will much like our ICROC does, review the expenditures and help to determine those. I would also say that the board typically would encourage people who are civic-minded and would like to participate in such committee and have the experience that might be able to, would be appropriate to encourage them to do so, because we need people doing exactly that. So just if something isn't fractionally a high enough priority on the list tonight, but it is something that has at least made the list, the relative proportions of money spent are all things that are subject to future and ongoing discussion. And I would caution that no one from, not the board, but any of our departments would not be allocating specific amounts or doing a fractional breakdown until we have a lot more certainty. So I would treat what the board's discussions were as a strong and urgent guidance for what our priorities would be.
Okay, Dr. James.
Thank you. I agree with Dr. Campbell's sentiment regarding the 5-year work plan. And to be honest, the reason I had less hesitation about the athletic funding for this year's budget is because we essentially carried forward last year's almost $2 million for lights. And that project essentially didn't get done last year and it's getting done this year. I am on 1,000% a board member who supports the athletic division of facilities getting north of $2 million annually for costs related to athletic facilities across our district. And I would love nothing more than to see Mr. Tucker create his own prioritization and get his own budget, and he creates a committee and he makes those decisions independent of the facilities department who manages all of our other academic facilities. I would love to see Mr. Tucker get $2 million, and every year he kind of has his prioritization and uses those funds as he and a committee sees fit. I do believe that is a necessary step to start addressing needs across the district. What I can't get behind is prioritizing to the tune of millions of dollars one school over another. The pictures that were shown tonight are, I could have guessed they were North Marion's. It looks just the same. And so I can't get behind prioritizing one over the other. What I can get behind is tuning $1 to $2 million annually, and the board collectively deciding, or Mr. Tucker or Ms. Dobbins or whoever deciding how we're going to pick a project that can be done on multiple campuses each year. What I love about the lighting project is it's being done at every single school. Every single school is getting new lights. No one school is superior over the other, and it's putting us in a position so that everyone gets to benefit from the prioritization of athletic funding, and I want to see that continue. So that's my position on it. I'm not going to, personally, I'm going to support adding it to our sales tax initiative.
Okay, sure. Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. I appreciate the board's comments. I know we haven't heard from you, yes, Vice Chair Conrad. And while I certainly appreciate the sentiment of $2 million a year to athletics, it's going to be about $1 million per track to rubberize them. And so the only way that ever gets done is if we start saying one goes a year, if we're only doing $2 million a year. Otherwise, our brand new high school will be the prioritization because it's the only one that will have one. And so I don't want to be a board member that makes that decision, that only the brand new high school gets the best of the best for their track program and their students. And so I believe that this board does need to have a very specific priority list, and maybe it's said over the next 6 years that $1 million is dedicated to each school to that one project, and then the remaining $1 million go to individualized projects that work at every school. Every school could get a brand new baseball stadium scoreboard, perhaps, or just that's a random project that could benefit all schools. We were fortunate this year that the LED lights was something that we could do that could uniformly impact every school. But at some point, you're going to run out of those projects that uniformly you can do at $2 million flat. And what the real project needs to be is actually redoing the facility itself. And so I certainly have heard that at least one board member is not supportive at all of using the sales surtax potentially for a project at Booster Stadium. I understand that it would need to be a community collaborative effort. I completely do. I know it was something that was brought up at the technical working group. But I believe that the community has spoken that they want to maintain a property there, which the technical working group actually talked about. If we were to move it at Vanguard, what would that look like? So I believe the conversation currently is that they would like for it to stay there. And if it does become a community collaboration, I would love to see this board say that we would dedicate resources to that as well, understanding by Attorney Powers cautioning that we don't really know exactly how much some of these other projects are going to cost. But the purpose of that long multi-hour conversation we had on Thursday was so those going out in our community, including a conversation that happened tonight at 4 o'clock in one of our retirement communities, to say, here is the Marion County Public School Board prioritization should this ballot referendum that this school board put on the ballot for November, should that ballot, we have an affirmative in that vote, then these are the priorities that the school board has also set forth. So at this juncture, athletic facilities are not a part of that conversation, and that's unfortunate. And so I don't know if you have anything else to add, Vice Chair, but that wraps me up.
I'll just add that I think every board member is passionate about the athletics programs here in Marion County. I think all of us agree. We're struggling, in the athletics department, and we wish there were more funds available to put into athletics. I am interested in furthering this conversation at another time, and maybe Mr. Tucker can bring some ideas forward so that we can discuss them all at one time.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank Dr. Campbell for that recommendation, because we all are very passionate about this athletic situation with the rubber tracks, as well as what was brought forth tonight with Booster Stadium. As I said, Ms. Slaughter, she did a good PowerPoint. It was actually disgusting to see some of those pictures. But as Dr. James said, there's some other places around the county that those same pictures can be taken.
Yep. And I think Mr. Tucker can help us prioritize those. He knows what the needs are at each school moving forward. And Ms. Slaughter, thank you again for bringing that forward.
Come to the mic, Ms. Slaughter, if you don't, because we can't hear you.
I just want to clarify for everybody that we were not aware, and none of the people I've talked to are aware that an option was building a stadium at Vanguard High School. Nobody was aware. I don't want everybody thinking, oh, we don't want to sell the land at Booster and use that to build a stadium at Vanguard, because we didn't know that was an option. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that was not our understanding that there was enough land to do that. If there is enough land to do that, then we would obviously, and I have community people that are willing to help raise money, but they want you guys to meet them halfway. They don't want to raise it all. So, just so you know. All right.
Thank you for clarifying that for us. Okay, finishing up board comments, I just have a few things I want to highlight. This last Sunday, the Ocala Film Derby was at the Marion Theater, and we had a lot of our middle school and high school students that participated, and it was a fantastic event. And the most exciting part to me was the mentors in the group who are currently working in digital production stood on the stage and said, this was such a great experience because the students in Marion County Public Schools are so awesome. They know more than we do. So they were sharing, as experts in the field, that the students in Marion County are just doing phenomenal work in digital video production. So hats off to that, Lori Zink, and we had a lot of teachers and a lot of staff members volunteer their time Saturday and Sunday so that the students could participate in that, and it was a really great event. So looking forward to next year. This week, the Public Education Foundation is kicking off Thank a Teacher, and so the first winner will be selected this week, so I'm looking forward to that. If you're not familiar with Thank a Teacher, please go to the Public Ed Foundation site. There's a little bit of information there, and you can nominate a teacher that's made a difference in your life. So just looking forward to that moving forward and recognizing more and more teachers that are doing great work at their schools. I also wanted to invite the board at Church of Hope on November 1st. John Maxwell's Live to Lead seminar is going to be there it'll be from 8 in the morning till 12:30. It is free, but I just wanted to invite you all to join me if you're available. I've gone the last couple of years, and it's really a great uplifting time. So I hope to see you there. And my final comment goes along with what everyone else has shared with the storm looming out there. I just want to give a shout out to Westport. They always have a heavy lift. They're the first ones to open as a shelter. Our sheltering staff that preps and gets everything ready and brings things in. I'm just really grateful for the work that they do that helps Marion County community as a whole. And so just hoping everyone stays safe, stay informed, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, Attorney Powers, are we going to?
I just had one question I was trying to get in before you started your comments. If that's
okay.
Dr. Gullett, based on our conversation, will you look at a future agenda maybe this fall that Mr. Tucker could present his priorities and expected what his plan would look like to the board? In a work session?
Certainly in a work session, yes. I know he's already done some work with that and working with the athletic directors, so he already has a tentative draft.
Okay, so that's something that you can put on in the future?
Absolutely.
That would be my request as a board member, is to have Mr. Tucker, who is our staff person leading that work, to be able to present to us on because as he sees the whole picture.
Yes.
That would be.
And they already have a draft. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, are we going to circle around to the conversation about expulsions?
And at this point, I would just ask that, Madam Chair, that you recognize Dr. Ann Hembrook and move forward to item 23.1 directly.
Okay, thank you.
You need to make a recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Hembrook.
And you can proceed with item 23.1 and read that, and she'll.
You want me to read?
Yeah, just
read the whole thing?
23.1, right?
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 25-002, JD 25-003, JD 25-004, JD 25-007, JD 25-009, and JD 26-014E with educational services for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year and the first quarter of the 2025-2026 school year. May I have a motion?
Just one correction, you said 26, but it's JD 25-014E. Just to correct.
JD 25-00.
014E, the last one you just said.
014E.
Right, and
with educational services for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year and the first quarter of the 2025-2026 school year. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, and at this point, board discussion, and as per our limitation, as we indicated earlier.
Board, the reason I wanted to discuss this item is I had the same concern as Dr. James. I was worried that we had students that had already been expelled. They were in trouble again with an offense that was, they could be expelled for again, and so they are continuing to stay on the MTI campus. And the concerns I've heard from staff about The level of discipline that Mr. Jones is already having to tackle here, it concerned me that we were looking at adding some students who had already been expelled, are going to be expelled again, to this campus. So I just open it up for discussion. Oh, Dr. Hembrook.
So I think I can answer that question. So when we started those conversations about expelling students without services and making it a true expulsion, we had those conversations towards the end of August. The incident dates on these particular cases were early, right when school started. So we had not, had that conversation and made that decision yet, and the letters had already been sent out. So to be true to the communication that we sent to families, we moved forward as we had in the past. But after that we had made that decision going forward, the future decisions are what we had discussed.
Okay. Thank you. Board, any comments?
Chair, Vice Chair, at some point, we do know that the program here at Marion Technical Institution is the last spot, the last point. They are here for disciplinary reasons, and you can't. And the purpose of them being here is for them to correct that behavior, for them to get some consequence and to correct that behavior. But if those behaviors continue, there has to be a point where we move to something different that looks different, whether that be an expulsion without services, going home with whatever. There has to be something else other than just bringing them back, because it gets to be redundant and there's no real consequence when they just keep coming back, and it becomes a recycle. So there has to be some type of movement beyond just coming back. So I'm in agreement that we need to do something.
Okay. Any other comments?
Only other comment that I would make there is now that we have the process in place, I believe that we all have the understanding that any student on this campus that has another offense that could be expellable, we address that accordingly, as I believe we did some tonight. So I am of the same opinion and mindset I think that the other board members have shared, that this is the last stop with services, and then once another offense occurs, we bid you farewell for the time that you need to get yourself in order and let your family take care of you for a little bit. And it's unfortunate that we're coming to that, because this district has always been very, very supportive to try to help students in struggling situations to still maintain some level of academic support. But we've reached a point right now with discipline infractions that are so egregious and continual that family needs to take care of these kids for a little bit and hopefully get them academic services in other ways. But I believe that's exactly how I feel, and I'm prepared to vote on this item right now.
And can I say this too, in addition to this? My thinking is that we do stuff the right way. I'm in agreement, but I want us to make sure that when as this is implemented, that we implement the right way, that it's put up front to these parents, to whomever, to the students, that, hey, these things are going to happen if this happens. I don't want it to be a surprise to anybody when it gets to the point where this expulsion is happening and there's no services. I don't want a group of people coming here trying to lobby about, well, we weren't told. I want there to be an in-stone process that they signed off on it, they knew about it, and they were being held accountable for those actions. That's where I'm at with that.
Dr. Hembrook, what date would you say that we started following this new guideline? What can we look forward to?
It was the very end of August is when we started having that conversation. So I think we had conversations around August the 30th, very early September. So anything that's an incident date in August, we might still see coming to MTI.
Okay, so have we already added a statement to the agreement that says really similar to what Reverend Cummings says, that says you are assigned MTI, but there are no more exceptions. If there's an offense to the student code of conduct, you will not receive services anymore.
So you mean like when they're doing an intake, when they're being assigned to MTI during the intake process? That's what you're asking?
Yes.
Mr. Jones and I will make sure that that's clear to families, yes.
Please. And don't just make it clear to them. I need to see a signature. I want a document, because that's what comes back to bite us when we don't do it that way, where it looks like we violate someone's due process. I don't want to violate anyone's due processes.
Yes.
Okay, and just another question. The paperwork that's gone home on these students, did it state that it was pending board approval?
Yes.
Okay. Is it possible to send out, so what would happen if it was not approved? What would your process be? If we did not approve the expulsions,
If they're
then what?
not approved, they would return to base.
Because the recommendation was expulsion.
Okay. My struggle is that they're all lumped together. And so,
I mean, we could parse them apart, but if they return to base, we can't.
That's
can we
not
process
not what I
pack-
want.
Another packet? My problem is this: we're looking at drugs and we're looking at major classroom disruptions for the two students that I'm thinking about, and I can appreciate all of the sentiments that have been shared, but I do not believe it's supportive of the way of work of what's happening on MTI's campus for us to, because where have these students been since August 13th? So one offense was August 13th. We're talking about the first week of school. So where have they been since August 13th?
I'm not sure if I really should answer that question
Not on
publicly
air.
on air.
So my point is, I don't see the consequence. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed for these students. And I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with, and I realize the conversation happened at the end of August, but we collectively made a decision. And so if that means we have to go back and change our paperwork and what we've told the parents based on the conversation the board has had in the different direction, then I'm of the opinion that that's what we should do. Because that is what best supports the rest of the students' learning on the MTI campus, in my opinion. So I guess Attorney Powers could give guidance as to what that looks like, whether we parse these out and approve them one by one, and then make an alternative recommendation for whichever ones we want, or I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but.
Well, firstly, as we're proceeding forward with this, at this point, these students have had a recommendation. This is the recommendation brought by staff. That recommendation is one that is within staff's purview to make and the board's to approve. Those are typically relatively routine unless the option has been taken by a parent either to challenge through the DOA process based on the facts and circumstances of the case, or to come separately and speak to the board regarding the disciplinary consequences. Now, in these particular cases, neither of those paths were chosen. Instead, they had consented to the board's, or the recommendation of staff, and staff now brings it to the board for approval. Now, I believe that the question that was recited to staff now is whether is with this approval or with this recommendation, what are the effects on campus in the future? Now, staff's answer, as I heard it, is that this is sort of for lack of a term, the last batch of this sort of direction of students that would be presented on this campus. There won't be more incoming with each new. So by attrition, that number will reduce as some of our directions are changing. I would express concerns that if the board either rescinded a recommendation that was already made because it would create public complications because parents have now been told, these were your options, and here's our recommendation, and parents have essentially either chosen to dispute or chosen not to dispute based on what those recommendations were. So there could be other complications if the board chooses to either say, we deny the expulsion, and in that case, as we heard, they return to base. Or,
Did parents not have the option to show up tonight?
and if they're, well, they would have, however, you do have a potential due process issue there because the fact was they've not shown up tonight because they were told they either have, that this was a board recommendation, they weren't going to come speak to the board about disciplinary consequences because this was the plan that was presented as being in place.
My question is, can we not, the student's placement is probably not changing. Where they were yesterday is where they will be tomorrow. And so my question would be, can we not just say no tonight and then process a new packet, which has expulsion without services, and then they can go ahead and receive an expulsion without services if that's the board's purview. But where they're going to school is not changing. So it really makes no impact on Mr. Jones at MTI's campus because there is no difference. And so if we just process a new packet, and even if that takes 6 weeks, the consequence that the board believes is the necessary consequence would still be implemented.
Let me ask a question. If the new packet is done, those parents get the same new options over again?
Absolutely.
Correct? Am I saying that correct, Attorney Flowers?
That would be correct. However, it also essentially my concern, just to be frank with you, because these things are thrown, they're the immediate ideas we're talking about because this is, so speaking off the cuff, my immediate concerns that I would want to address and probably need a little time to give you better answers than this are that this is, in prosecutorial terms, giving 2 bites at the apple to one side or the other. And that's typically disfavored. You don't get into a situation where we are like right now and saying that either side, to the degree there's sides, the staff side or the parental side has a right to kind of go back and do it again because there was that's an appellate process. I would be reluctant to. I'd be reluctant to alter to set that aside because there could be complications arising from that. So we are where we are. The board may choose to do exactly that. I don't see immediately that there is any strong legal ground that would prohibit the board from doing that. However, it could give rise to complaints later that we go back and say, okay, well, because we altered this, that puts us into a different process that we have to do down the line. That, frankly, given several different cases, it's hard to anticipate where that would turn out. And I'll defer also if staff or even Attorney Blackman has anything else to add to that. That's my view, is I'd be reluctant to make changes that had us put these aside, bring them back, come back for a rehearing with things changed. So much as that might reach the desired outcome, I don't know that it's procedurally the best idea.
Dr. Campbell.
Sure. So thank you, Attorney Powers, for that. Based on what you've said, because there are a minimal number right now that we're talking about, even that this is impacting, I would be in favor of moving forward with what's been presented, the way it's been presented. But I also would be interested in entertaining an idea for all students on this campus. And I know we're shooting off the cuff here, but all students that come to this campus to have something similar to the behavior contract that we give to students that are early reentried. That they understand that their family and each student on this campus signs a behavior contract, and if they become in violation of that, then they leave this campus. And I believe that would accomplish even more tightly what needs to happen from an education standpoint on this campus for students that have made poor decisions but are trying to make more positive decisions, as opposed to those students who are going to have continual poor decision making. And so I don't know if that's something, Dr. Gullett, that you would be willing to entertain, but, or board that you would agree with that. But that's the thought process that I'm having here, that it's not just that we're sending it in their first certified mail letter, but when those students come here and their family comes here and they know that's where their placement is, that they have a dual signed letter that if they do anything, it's a level 3 or a level 4 or even a level 2. It doesn't have to be exactly what that behavior contract is.
Let me ask a question, Dr. Campbell. I'm just for clarity.
Oh, right, sure.
Are you saying that when a student is assigned to come here, that part of their entry into here is that they sign the behavior contract up front?
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
good with that, yeah.
Yes, I think that would, it's the piece to me that's ironic about all of this, and I'm sorry I have to say this, the thing that's ironic to me is the conversation we're having right now for students that were expelled and then have an offense on that same campus that are then expelled again on that. We did this for years. We just weren't the ones taking care of these students. And so that's what's ironic to me about it, because we continued to have students that were expelled at New Leaf or Surmy, and then we would expel them again, and they would all go to New Leaf, and then we expel them again. And we did it for a long, but now that we're seeing with our own eyes in our own school what the egregious behaviors have been, I agree that we need to start addressing it differently. It's just ironic to me that we're addressing it this way, because it's time, and I'm grateful that we're going to address it this way, because we have to start separating those students who have an expellable offense but want to do right, and the students that have an expellable offense and are going to continue to make those poor decisions. And that's impossible for student learning for everybody else. So if Dr. Gullett, if you and that behavior contract of some sort, Dr. Hembrook, if that's something that we can work on for those students who are coming to this campus, if we start at October 1 or whatever day we have to have a start date, certainly you can start at the beginning of next semester, whatever you need to have but I think that would solve a lot of the questions that we've been receiving from folks that we've been getting emails and communication, as well as our own personal questions.
Madam Vice Chair, thank you for the suggestions, board. I do want to say this. I don't disagree and understand the passion of the board, but I also want to share that we've trusted Mr. Jones as the principal of this school, met with Mr. Jones, and out of respect for Mr. Jones, I think he needs to be the one that finally makes the decision what's best for the students that we're supporting. We've trusted him with that role, and out of respect for that, I think we need to allow him to make some final decisions.
And so,
I agree. He needs to be involved in that conversation.
I agree.
So in turn, though, if he is hearing this conversation even right now and agrees with our assertions, then that would be a decision that would be supported, that if that's his recommendation as well. Okay, perfect.
Sure, he's listening.
Sure.
Great idea, Dr. Campbell. Thank you.
Thank you.
My only question, really, after that conversation, is there any way to make that retroactive, to have our students that are already here, say October 1st, whenever, that every student that is on this campus signs that contract? And ironically enough, that's what we do at our magnet schools. They sign a contract that they will have good behavior. So I'm looking forward to that. Dr. Hembrook, is that something that's possible?
We can look into that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Board. I think that was good conversation. A challenging topic, but really address some concerns that we have here, right here at MTI. So thank you for that.
Can I just ask one clarifying point? If there will be any more students who are going to be in an expulsion packet, who are going to receive services, who were at MTI and offended, so if there's any more lingering, can we please receive a phone call or something to provide that extra point of clarification of why they're still hanging on to that packet?
Absolutely, yes, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Very good, because it was very confusing, or it was confusing to me.
I was also confused, so.
Oh, we have a motion in a second.
Yes, okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Okay, there being no further business. Yes,
I just want to clarify that what just passed was, these are expulsions with service.
services, yes, sir.
But the ones coming in the future will be without.
Thank you for that clarification, Reverend Cummings, I appreciate it. Okay, there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. James, all right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0, and with that, the meeting is adjourned at 7:49. Thank you.
Mr. Smith,